I moved up in the world.
Okay, who's sitting here?
Oh, I think.
I think that's puffing.
Uh-oh, did I get moved? Bad behavior or what? I don't know, he's sitting next to me, that must mean something.
Either you're supposed to keep an eye on me or I'm supposed to keep an eye on you, George. Hey, good, Ryan, how are you?
You're not using 4 ppm.
Thank you, Scott.
Well, there's that little wooden, I think that where the two surveys kind of crux, there's a little bit of, I'll call it no man's land there. Way out at the edge of the water.
Boy, that article on the negative consequences of when the lake level is low and all this greens grow all over the beaches and then water comes up and all that is underwater and it rots and it adds terribly to the bioload in the lake. Yeah.
Rita has in the paper.
That was in White Bear Press. Do you not get the press? Yeah. Yeah, and it,
Because I'm trying to get this
So I was using it, so
yeah.
here.
Yeah, that's, I don't know, I just ran into Terry O'Loughlin. Do you know Terry?
No. Well, he's chairman of the.
He was on
I know, isn't he?
the lake level
Oh, he's busy.
resolution committee.
Volunteers for a lot of stuff.
But I've known him since the 80s.
They're using one.
Because I like help and stuff.
Yes, and that's what he was saying.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting of the White Bear Lake Conservation District Board meeting to order
Up north, oh, you're.
for July
18.
18th, 2017. Thank you all. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we have a quorum. Okay, so we've called to order. So we're down to item 3, approval of agenda. Does anybody want any changes? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Wait till Mary's paying attention.
There's everything you need is on the table. Okay.
I move we approve the agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passed. Approval of minutes, so we have 2 to deal with, I guess. We have the May minutes. Let's start with those. And my understanding, I wasn't at the June meeting, but my understanding is somebody took exception to the accuracy of the minutes, and Mary has gone back and reviewed that DVD of that meeting and provided these updated minutes. And so at the moment, we need a motion and a second to deal with these May minutes.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the May minutes. Any discussion?
I'm still kind of concerned about a couple of the things that were in this. It says that the angle of the Mahoney's dock is not the same angle as other 3 to the north. I take exception with that, and I take exception with the Mahoney dock is converging 10 feet off property line.
Alan?
Chair and board, just as a matter of recording public meetings, obviously there's a DVD recording, and unless the scrivener, as I'll call Julie and now Mary, gets it wrong, you go back through and it's supposed to be a recordation of what was said. So it's not you don't get to change what someone said just because it's not liked the next month. You approve minutes based on what was said. Technically, under state law, the only minutes you have to take and record are votes of the board and who made them. Everything else is really fluff, and it's designed so that people who are not here can get a gist of what was said. So as long as Mary verified that what was said is accurately portrayed in the minutes, we don't change minutes just because they're not liked. So hope that helps.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Those minutes passed.
Oh, I'm sorry, I opposed them.
Okay, we had one opposed.
One opposed.
Mary? And now we're on to the June 20th minutes. Anybody have anything to add, correct, in Mike?
On the June 20th minutes, number 7, unfinished business, motion number 4, where we passed the apportionment. I'd like to have that reflect that I made an amendment. I asked for an amendment to reduce the city appointments by 5%, and that it was denied. And if there's any verbiage or any wording that you're grasping for, just go by the record or go by the, whatever was recorded. But it was basically, that was the gist of the amendment, was to reduce city apportionments by 5%, and that it was denied.
No, he said 5.
No, 5.
It's
I
5.
started with 10, but nobody liked that. I tried.
Okay, so Mary, will you make some correction to the minutes to reflect that? And so can we have a motion, and can we pass these contingent on those getting corrected? So we'll table these?
Table the June ones.
Got it, yep.
So that way, since, it's a specific request from someone, and I believe that that would be an accurate thing to have in the minutes, would be an amendment that was made and either not seconded or not accepted. I can't remember if it was friendly or unfriendly, but
It was friendly, but it was denied, I guess, or
it
turned.
was not accepted,
It was not accepted, yes.
right? And it wasn't pushed to any sort of a hostile vote to add it. So that's what should be reflected, Mary, and they can certainly wait another month and get approved with that added.
Okay, perfect. So I won't ask for a motion on these. We'll just table these for now and move on to the next item on the agenda. We have a public comment time for any items that are not on the agenda. So if you have some items that you'd like to discuss, just come up and state your name, address, and tell us what you have to say.
I'm Matt Hagel, from Chumley, Minnesota. We're trying to figure out where people are supposed to be on the lake, is what we're trying to do. We had some problems with on the peninsula, the crowding out there, and we've started moving some people over by Optimist Beach, and now the city came out and it's hard to see on the picture here, but you can see the ropes and the buoys is way bigger than I've ever seen Optimist Beach, and I just don't know what the city was trying to do there, but it's hard to get a boat in or out of there, and it's real crowded. It's made it difficult. Where I've got those red dots on there is kind of where I remember the beach being, and then because you can see where the line is on the bottom where the drop off is there. It goes down. It's like 15 feet deep there, so the kids aren't out there swimming there. And I'm just wondering what the city's doing with mark it out like that. Don't you have to have a lifeguard there then? You'd think. Kind of liability for them, but that's not my beef. But what? Speak into the mic. Okay. Thanks, Tim. All right. But what really has to happen is we're going to get everybody to go over to Ramsey Beach, where traditionally everybody used to hang out on their boats, because people need a space to socialize and let their kids play in the water and whatnot. So Luke will show you the next one. There's you can see where that grassy area is there. That's where it's grown up over the last, 8 years the beach is closed. And you can see where they pulled it out over by, right in front of the building there. The county sent people in there and they just scooped out some of the weeds so they could open the beach, but they didn't think about any of the rest of it. So I'm wondering what process we do from this standpoint, if we're going to get that area cleared out there. Does the county get involved? It's a county park, correct? Right, so and there's so we'd like that to turn into like a boat park so people have somewhere to go. And I kind of mocked up a thing there where I'm showing a bunch of markers in there and to have people push their boats down the center where the yellow lines are, the markers are there, and then there'd be a buffer zone between the beach and the boat area, but it'd be a pretty nice place to park your boats and socialize, and it's, I don't think anybody would be bothered by the noise or the people that are there, because there's some big vegetation that's grown up between the condominiums there and the beach, and it's a natural place where I think they should go. So I was just seeing what your guys' opinion of it would be, and Luke would like to add.
Mr. Chair, members, this area typically, back prior to the last drop-off, or the last drought, was all sandy area, basically because of the traffic that went on there. That's where most of the boats would congregate and hang out, gave them nice access to the beach through the area to the south of the actual beach itself for restrooms, things of that nature. Having been on the Lake Utilization Committee for quite some time, what we saw during the last down period was a large congregation of boats out at the end of the peninsula. Just to give you kind of a historic perspective, at the end of the peninsula, the homeowners that were there typically weren't there a lot, and so they didn't really much care. They traveled quite a bit. And so over the years, that area continued to get more and more and more popular, to the point where over the last couple of years, it's really now, for the new homeowner, become a nuisance. The new homeowner came in, and now there are people up on the beach, or on the property, not in the water. Really, if you've been out there, say for example on a 4th of July, we can show you pictures, and I'm sure you've seen pictures that have been brought in of the congestion that's happened out there. And the rafting has become very popular, and no one wants to discourage the rafting. It's just a matter of, can we, now that the lake level has gotten up a little bit, enough to where that area is navigable again, and is that again the appropriate spot for everybody to raft up? It's a beautiful beach when all this stuff gets knocked down, and if there's more traffic over there, that's going to help. But this is really, Pat brought this to me a couple of weeks ago as just kind of a concept plan that, obviously if we were to pursue it with the county, we would want support of the board. Maybe the buoys are too much, maybe it's just kind of a help them to migrate over there. But without obviously the support of the board, it's a much harder, it's a push and a rope if we don't have the support of the board. So just kind of trying to get some thoughts on it.
Luke, is that county land in the yellow?
It is. The parkland runs actually right to about, I don't have the exact markings, but I would say right down the middle of those large trees to, well, let's, for this sake, call it the south.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the Shadowgate Apartments farther to the south. But that is county land. You can see the parking lot coming way back there. But it is really a natural place for this activity to happen. And from when I was young, way back in the day, that's where it did happen. And you could have volleyball nets set up, you could make noise, and it didn't make much difference because you were right there at the beach. And it wasn't spreading and metastasizing to other places on the lake that are shallow.
Have you talked to anybody as far as the apartments next door?
Only one resident who said they really got a kick out of watching what was happening, yes. At the previous spot, which was here, and here you can see this area here. That area to the north is where it's sandy again. It's a much more limited spot for the number of boats that are out there. I mean, there's usually a lot of boats.
Yeah.
And it puts you more into the residential area where now, it's not like anybody's encouraging the loud music, but there is loud music. That's just a reality of some of this rafting. And you're getting more into where it carries into the residential areas versus sticking in right at the park area in the public use area. And maybe it's not buoys. That Pat put that together just because that way you've got egress, you know, sheriff's boat can get in there if somebody needs it. You've heard of the situation I'm gonna talk at Big Island, where on the 4th of July, the sheriff's boat can't even get to somebody that's fallen off their boat. In this case, maybe it could. Mike?
I think that the side boundaries are important. I don't know about anything inside of that, but I think that, you know, so you stay in that particular area. And then if you are successful, if the county's willing to clean that area up, you might suggest that they not clean up the land as much so that you've got a buffer.
Mr. Chairman, Mike, I think that's a great suggestion. The buffer to the north is going to be a natural buffer with the lines for the beach itself,
right,
that you're going to have to keep away from. But I think that is a great idea. You can leave that.
You might actually want to put a walkway in there, though, towards the park so that people can use the restrooms, because I know that's been a big problem over on the peninsula.
They'd still be able to use, because the buoys don't actually extend all the way to the sand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there would be an area there, the primary concern of this project is not so much what's on shore, it's just trying to reclaim that beautiful sand that's on the land side. Activity is gonna do that, but I think you need some help up on the shoreline to maybe move some things around. But that's a county issue. We would just need to make sure that the conservation district didn't say, hey, didn't say, don't do that. Or we don't support this kind of concept. Can I do one housekeeping thing too? I've watched the last couple of meetings. Could you all pull your mics up towards your face? So that, because the audio is really tough. I'm also a cable commissioner now, so. So it really does help if the mics are by your face. Mike.
So do we need to make a motion on that?
Yeah, are you guys looking for anything from the board tonight, or just to?
How about a thumbs up? Sounds like a great idea. Report back when you come up with something solid.
I think it sounds like a great
I
idea.
think it sounds like a good idea.
And it's where it all started originally, so it's not anything new.
And I think if you had a designated trail for people who had their boats there to walk through to the park, rather than utilizing any of that scrub land for anything that might need to be taken care of at the restrooms, that might be a really good idea.
As long as it's not through the trees, because then that negates the need for the restrooms.
Yeah. That's been the problem out on the peninsula.
Who and how does the vegetation get removed?
Well, I mean, that's part of the question and the starting of the conversation with Ramsey County. But if you were to take the number of people that are at that, or currently, if you can move a fraction of the number of people that are at the peninsula to this space, that stuff's going to be gone within a year anyway, just because of the agitation, the movement, the people hanging out there. That's going to do what the beach is going to do, or probably is now. If you had an aerial of the beach, you probably see a lot cleaner area off from the sand, just because of the agitation.
What kind of vegetation is that?
It's weeds.
Cattails or bulrushes or
It's
floating?
just litter. No, it's, I don't know. That's, we could ask the county.
So who does take care of that?
Ramsey County.
Yeah, so Luke or Pat, what do you see as your next steps?
Probably going to Ramsey County and
Okay,
seeing
got
if we can't get some assistance in clearing out some of that area to at least kind of help get a start.
Got it. That sounds good.
You know, and then obviously you have to include the DNR in it, but whatever Ramsey County would see as their next step.
Right, that's right.
Water patrols?
I don't want to talk about that.
Oh, I don't talk about water patrols. Water patrols? Yeah. There were some folks I know over at Optimist Beach last weekend, and Washington County Water Patrol came in and told them they had to get out of there because they had to be 150 feet from these swim lines. And now that's not correct. It's, so I talked to the Ramsey County Water Patrol, and they said, no, that's not the way it should be. So these two, they have to communicate a little better or something, or maybe, I don't know if you can get them to come to a meeting or what, but it's just, it's confusing for people on the lake.
Sure.
That's what this is all about, right? Okay.
All right, well, thanks for bringing all that up. Any more for the public comment time?
Hello, Jim Herod, 43 Lake Avenue in Birchwood. I would like to talk about the Herod Mahoney order that was passed last January.
Hey,
You're on the
before you
agenda.
get going, is this on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, so we reserve this time for items that aren't on the
Will I be
agenda.
able to speak at that time?
Don't know that yet, but, yeah. So, so this would be for items that are not on the agenda at this 15 minutes.
Well, if I could speak at that time, I'd like to.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so anybody else? No, okay. So new business, we have no new business. Unfinished business, also no unfinished business. So we're on to reports, action items. The executive committee did not meet in between the last meeting and this meeting, and so there's nothing to report, unless, Diane, do you have anything that you think we should report? Okay, nothing to report there. So Lake Level Resolution Committee, and that's Pat, who's not here. My understanding is that that committee has not met as well, and so there's no report there for the Lake Level Resolution Committee. And then 8C, the Lake Quality Committee, Mike?
Lake quality, the water level today is 923.37. 923.37. It's down an inch from last month. We've got rain coming tonight. We've got rain, a lot of rain coming tomorrow night, apparently. And so the lake is maintaining itself quite well. Water temperature is 78 degrees. It was 72 degrees last month, so it's come up a bit, and it was 78 last year at this time, so everything's pretty normal that way. The Eurasian Water milfoil update is that we did a survey June 20th, and we discovered 65.06 acres of treatable Eurasian Water milfoil. It was treated July 14th, and it takes about 2 weeks for the treatment to take effect. So we will go out again and measure the effectiveness of the treatment at $341 an acre. It's coming in at a little over $22,000, just by my rough figures. We haven't got the bill yet in case there's any adjustments, but so we're under budget. And there we are.
Was there a particular area that was made up that 65 acres?
Is there a particular?
I mean, is there a large area that would have made up
There are a
that area?
couple large areas. The Scott was good enough to put the map on the website, so you can go and look at where the treatment areas are. There's a couple large areas in the Commercial Bay area.
We did put the map on our website,
Thank you.
and it was in the paper,
Yeah, it was in the paper, yeah.
kind of small, but, yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? That's it.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So on to 8D, the Lake Utilization Committee. Mark's not here, so George?
The AC1, we reached, the birthday firework party was canceled because of rain, and so they changed the date, and we just changed the date on the application that we approved before. It's still the same application. That make sense?
What's the date?
Damned if I can remember.
It took place the 15th. It was scheduled, they were going to do it the 22nd, but it took place the 15th. They got rained out the first time. And so there were no changes on anything they were doing except the date.
And so it actually occurred on July 15th?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, 8D2, the dock position issue on the LUC meeting agenda, which was the historical Mahoney Herod discussion.
Oh, that's this one, so just a moment. Hey, Susie, would you mind going to the audience for this discussion, please? Thank you. Sorry, George, go ahead.
And I think what the committee decided that we'd make a recommendation that the letter be sent to the Maloney's and tell them to comply with the order that we sent previously on making sure that straighten their dock out, doesn't converge, and give them 10 days to do that. Otherwise, we'll start procedures. Is that appropriate enough, I think, or does that make sense?
Seems to me that everyone's looking at me, so I'm assuming what you mean by procedures is send out a violation if they don't comply.
Right.
And I'm assuming the LUC would be charged with observing that compliance.
So that's the committee's recommendation, and that's our motion.
Okay, so we have a motion to send a letter to the Mahonies, asking them to correct their dock position so it's not converging. And do we have a second?
I second it.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? And one thing that I'll just add, I'll bring up anyway, and we can decide if you want to add it or not, is to also add to that, it seems like one of the outstanding pieces of information is the width of the Herod frontage at the lake. So I think it would be good if we got that information in some way. And so maybe we could add an amendment to your
That should be a special.
motion, a separate.
Yeah, that tie him.
Got it. And so, we wouldn't add it here, but that would be a separate motion, is that
I
what you're
would
saying?
make the separate motion.
All right. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Diane?
How can we know where everybody's supposed to be if we don't know the Herod's, I guess,
The width of their
Yeah.
frontage?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are two issues here.
That's right.
At least that I see. One is the Mahonies are taking exception to the Herod's placement of their dock, because that dock by the order is supposed to be halfway or at least 20 feet, and then if it's 20 feet, all the slips are going the other direction. And based on the Herod's representation, it appears that they are about halfway, close enough anyway, that Mark said close enough. And so that's good. But there's been exception taken by the Mahonies that really isn't the width of the Herod's frontage. It's really much more, or has been represented to be much more anyway. And so really the dock should be moved over even further in order to have it be in the middle and, that kind of thing. So that's item one. And then I think item two is this convergence. The docks aren't supposed to converge. And so it appears, based on drone photo, that the Mahoney's dock does converge on the Herod's, and so that's the purpose of this motion. And then after we deal with this motion, then I will make a motion that we ask the Herod's to bring us some, certified confirmation on the frontage of their lot, and give them some reasonable period of time to do that. So that we have that piece of information to deal with, if not this year, then next year. And did that answer, or did that respond adequately to your question?
yeah, but I still think that until we know how wide their property is, that kind of makes a difference.
I couldn't understand. Talking to Mike.
Oh, sorry. That I think that until we know how many feet they
Two
have,
separate issues. One's the Herod's footage, the other one is a dock conversion.
yeah, I understand the
So
dock.
that doesn't have any relationship on the dock conversion
So the second, his is going to take care of how many feet the Harrods have.
That's a separate issue,
Got it.
and somehow it's got to be verified.
But is there a convergence because of where the dock, the Harrods dock is placed now?
Well, what the order told them to put their dock out, which was historical, the way it was.
Okay.
And it supposedly isn't anyhow, it isn't anymore. So if they move it, it would be. And that was part of the order that Mark sent, it shouldn't converge, which it evidently looks like it does.
Okay,
That help you at all?
yes, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Anybody? No, thank you. So okay, so no further discussion, so I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, so that passes. So on that related issue, if I can build off of your agenda
You
item.
can instruct the attorney to proceed.
Who does that letter come from, Alan? Typically, does that come from the chair of the LUC or from the attorney?
Historically, Board, the chair of the LUC has issued those compliance letters.
Okay,
And so if there is not compliance, the referral is made to the sheriff's department, and they usually issue a citation, which would be the process or proceedings that George was talking about.
okay, so it's in Mark and Mary's hands as far as I can tell to get that out, or George in lieu of
And depending on, I don't know how long Mark is actually gone for, but, just because summer's going by, I mean, whoever the surrogate is for Mark, I'm certainly happy to help George if that's, who it falls on, so.
Okay, well, that sounds good to me, so we'll leave it in your able hands. George, Mary, Alan?
We'll get it then, yep.
Okay. Okay, so then, to build off of this item, because this frontage of the Harrods is unknown, I'd like to make a motion that the board asks the Harrods to provide a survey of their frontage, and we give them 6 months to provide that information.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that item?
Would there be, without having to pay for a survey, would there be any other way of verifying it?
Okay, good question. Don't know that. We could adjust the motion to say some certified confirmation. But Alan, do you have any thoughts on that?
Chair and Board, there's certainly plenty of surveys that have been done in the area. I think either a letter stipulating to a certain square frontage would help, obviously, you guys, because Mark has already gone out there and determined that based on his, I don't see there an issue there because you've already got a board person that's actually said, here's where it should be and here's where it is. So I don't know that I think that the board can actually force someone to go out and have another survey done just for the purposes of telling you where they think the center of their lot is. So I think they can certify that they think it's in the center of their lot, and they can certainly affirmatively say, we think we have this much, is why we put our dock at 18 and a half or whatever Mark measured it at, because we do know where their property starts. That's the thing. So you can word it however you want, but if Mike hadn't brought it up, I would have said, it's going to be tough to get that out of, a private party. So.
And so in the future, so if we ask for that certified, you give us some certified assurance of where that center of your lot is, or your lot width, say, and they come back with something, and then that is contested by the Mahonies, then we're in basically the same situation, other than we can say, well, this is what we have, and come back and prove to us that it's different, someone, or how do you see that playing out?
Well, you're a volunteer board, and so when you go out and measure things, I think everything was pretty well established before this last year, and now we have a marker that we can tell exactly where the dividing line is, and so we operate largely on good faith of the parties, and so I believe that the Harrods did move their dock a couple of feet pursuant to the order, so that I think they figured they lost about 4 feet, so they moved the dock 2 feet from where it historically was, which was, I think, accepted as the middle of their property. And so that was good enough for Mark. I wasn't involved in those conversations, but I don't know if you now make them prove that that is the case, or if you just, like I said, make them send in something saying, to the best of our knowledge, our dock is either 20 feet from the lot line or halfway through our lot based on the order of the board, and go from there. You know, if you wanted to verify it, I think, you know, the board could say we'd like to survey it, but I don't know how you could make them do it. So it's a hard number if you do 20 feet, for example, right? And then everyone could have everything on either side of the dock. That's the way we did it. So another 1.5 feet, if they wanted to move it, they could put whatever they wanted out there, right? Arguably, if they're 18.5 feet or whatever they are right now.
Okay,
Yeah, this
Scott.
might be kind of a dumb question, but I mean, the property lines between the Harrods and Mahoney's were litigated extensively. How come we don't know where their lake frontage is coming out of that?
You know, my understanding is that we know where the point is between the two properties, the Harrods and
Yeah.
Mahoney, but we don't know necessarily where that point is between the Harrods and K Beach.
Beach, okay.
And so, you know, one party says it's this wide, the other says, no, it's this wide, and we don't have anything, the board doesn't have any information, to my knowledge, that would, you know, that would be like a survey that would say, hey, it's definitely here and here. And so, in my mind, it doesn't have to be a survey, I guess, as long as we get some information on that, so we're not dealing with this dispute that's going on any more than we have to, because, you know, it's kind of playing playground patrol. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and I'm not opposed to changing my motion to be, you know, instead of a survey, be a certified confirmation that of the width of their property. And George, are you okay with that change?
Yeah, but there's some question about the property line between K Beach and Harrods. And I believe my memory serves me right, it's like a 4 foot, 4 foot of K Beach is actually supposedly maybe Harrods property. So that's going to be something hard to verify one way or the other. Does it belong to him or doesn't? You know, so that, obviously what he said is you started from Mahoney's property line, we know where it is. But I'm not sure how you get to the other end. Otherwise, it'd be simple, go get a tape measure and pace it off, so. I've heard conflicting things from 36 feet to 40 feet to 42 feet. I believe the county has them down at, if I remember correctly, 40 feet. But,
But the county's records
yeah,
aren't accurate, or they don't count?
well, I guess there's some question. I don't know, I'm just, you know, what we want to accept might be, you know,
And I guess that's one idea, is to abandon the motion and to just rely on the county information that we have for that width, and whether that's 40 feet or whatever that width is, and let others come back and prove to us that it's something different than that.
You would think
that idea.
that Birchwood would know,
That's what I was thinking.
and then you put together with the
should check with
county. I mean, I've
Birchwood.
been involved in this stuff before, and if you get a couple of different resources, it kind of figures itself
I
out.
think the situation there is, as I understand, it's gone to the Birchwood City Council, and they still claim that that's their 4 feet, but they're not going to do anything about it. So does that mean now it's Harrods? Or if they get to keep using it, is it Harrods? How do you count that in there? I don't know.
Well, yeah, but that's different. I mean, if it's their 4 feet, then it's their 4 feet. We're not asking them what they're going to do with it.
I would think so, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just
Usually
wanna
gets
throw a
clear
little-
when you
wanna
look
throw-
at it from a
wanna
couple
throw a little more
directions.
fertilizer on the pile.
No, don't even imagine anymore.
But I mean, what Birchwood thinks, I mean, it's the county that maintains the geographical information system.
That would be my
You
position.
can look at it online. It'll show the size
That
of the
would be my
line.
position. It's not what they use, but what they own.
Okay, so I'll adjust the motion to, instead of a survey, provide survey information, to provide some sort of certified document regarding the width of their frontage at the lake. George, are you okay with that change?
Sure, from the county.
Okay, yep. And so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So that passed. Okay, and so, sorry, George, back to you. You're on 8.
Okay, excuse me, ordinance number 16. Is that the one I got next? Ordinance number 16 had, if I can find it, had a change. And if you turn to definitions, part 2, and go down to the end of part 2, subsection 20, I think you all have copies of it, you know? And the change is what was instructed at the last meeting regarding as it reads, I don't know if you want me to read it, or has everybody got it, find it? Any problem with it? So I make a motion that we,
I have a question first. Subdivision 6 defines a watercraft.
I'm sorry,
On subdivision 6 of Part 2 defines a watercraft.
subdivision 6, I think what you're looking at,
It's on the first page. It's on the very first page.
on the very first page?
Yeah, under Part 2 definitions.
Under Part 2 definitions, the bottom one, subdivision 6.
Which one? Subdivision
Six.
what?
6. Bottom one. Watercraft.
Yeah, what about it?
Well, it defines watercraft, and now we're going to define a boat.
Pardon? You said a boat?
Does the definition in subdivision 6 for a watercraft, does that conflict at all with this new text in subdivision 20, what a boat means?
Well, I'm not sure if it conflicts.
You know, it
tells you what
doesn't.
watercraft means.
It doesn't, because you got a watercraft, which is all sorts of things, but when you're going to count boats on a dock, you want to know what's a boat and what isn't a boat.
But the other one, when you get to the next one, it says, boat means all motorized watercraft and non-motorized watercraft.
Yeah,
So I think that ties in, does it?
yeah, I think it's different.
Does it not? I'm-
Right,
But all boats are
Okay.
watercraft.
got it, I got it,
Okay,
yep.
so move.
Okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
So a motion, a second, any discussion? And George, the one question I have is I also see under section 3.05, which is another page down or back. So this is section 3.05, it's on the third page of the packet?
That was in the previous one. The
That's-
crossed out one,
Yeah, that's right.
that was already crossed out
Okay.
before.
So we're not,
when you bring it up to date, it was-
okay, so we're not,
Get it out of there.
we're not doing anything with that item
that
in this
was-
motion?
That was in it before, right?
It's been previously redacted.
Yep, that's good.
Yeah, that was
Okay,
my
so
question, too.
So it's only this item. So we have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes.
Revision of Form 5, which is the application for, hell have I got here?
We should all have that in our packet as well.
Pardon?
We should all have that in our packet as
Yes.
well that Mary mailed out.
And at that, you go to 8B. And that's the language that you, board passed last time, asking for the compliance letter from the cities to the marinas. I wonder, just question before I go farther, I think the intent was this for the marinas to get that permission letter. But I'm not sure if this, the way this is written, if it doesn't mean anybody that needs a permit. So it could be a private owner that has more than 4 boats.
No, it says, excuse me,
Mike?
this is the result of the Commercial Bay Task Force, and it says 8B,
Just
commercial operators,
Commercial, so that take care of it?
commercial operators.
Okay.
So it would include them all. It would probably include the yacht club then, maybe.
Well, I don't know, is the yacht club commercial? It's private.
Well, you said it was last month.
No, I said it was a marina.
Okay.
You said it was a business, a commercial.
You said it was a commercial
I said it was
business.
a private marina.
Private business.
No, the question, let me correct you. The question was that White Bear was the only place that had any marinas.
Yeah.
And I corrected that statement by saying Delwood had one, the yacht club, a private marina.
Okay.
But
Rents
still,
out slips.
Well,
the commercial operator.
Which rents out slips, so they're a commercial operator.
I don't know if that would classify it.
well, anyhow, this addition is the result of the Commercial Task Force finding everything that everybody wanted solved happened to be on land.
This is
The only way to solve it was to make the people applying to us have their permits in order on land before they came here. And so, and it's
They fall
commercial.
underneath it,
And
they
it means
fall-
commercial, so somebody, an individual with 5 boats on his dock is not affected by this at all. Because they're not commercial.
Okay, make sure
If
we're
they're
not.
renting those slips out, they shouldn't be.
Pardon?
If they're renting the slips out on their dock, they shouldn't be.
True.
It might happen, but anyhow, they're not commercial, so this is not aimed at them at all.
Okay, well, anyhow, that's the language, so I make a motion, we accept it.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to adjust the language under 8B, commercial operator. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes.
You also had our fee schedule, I think was included, was it not?
Yes.
Just for your information. There's
Okay.
been nothing changed there, but like to keep you guys up to date, so you know what's going on.
Okay, so that's for information only, the Schedule A.
Yes, right.
All right.
I think that's all I have.
Okay, any questions for George? Mike?
Since the fee schedule is from 2008, did you think of any, increasing any small amounts, or $10 on commercial slips, or, whatever? Did you
No, I
discuss it even? Anything?
We really didn't, because, we ran pretty much straight without increasing anybody.
Yeah, just a thought.
And we were hoping that with the additional water, we might regain some of our lost
Yeah, I mean,
funds and then be able to cut the
Since
fees
two-
to the city of White Bear.
since 2008, slip fees have increased
Oh,
considerably.
excuse me, to all the cities, I misspoke.
I didn't hear that. But since 2008, the slip fees have increased considerably, and we haven't changed anything for us, so
You're saying by the people that sell those slip fees?
Yes.
or slips? Oh,
Yes.
interesting.
considerably.
Okay.
Another $10 wouldn't even be a blip in the eye, but it's 4,000 for us.
Okay, any
Just
other?
a thought.
That's it.
Okay, thank you, George. Okay, so we're on to 8E, the Lake Education Committee. That's Scott.
Yeah.
Susie.
8E1 is email, and there was a thing printed out on the desk that's an email from John Harrington. This is the email issue. The core issue is that on our contact us in the website, it lists all the members of the board, but it doesn't have any way to contact each of us, unlike all the other public bodies. Pretty standard, right?
It should, yeah.
I don't even know if it's required, but, we don't really, people have objected to putting their personal emails on the website. So what the proposal is they would create email addresses that, like, say, Scott Costello @wblcd.org. They would then set that up as an automatic relay. So if any email comes into that, it will get automatically forwarded to your personal email, thus hiding your personal email from the person that's sending. The only way that person would know that you sent them an email, the only way they would know your personal email is if you replied directly from your personal email, then they'd see it. Otherwise, you'd have to get on to the board email account. My guess is that there'd be very little use of this, so I think in most cases, this relay will work just fine. And it's just what he proposes to do. He does make a point that they will not charge us for this.
That's nice.
Yes, so there is no cost of doing this, and
And Scott, how does it, so how does it work? So somebody sends an email to me as an example, and it goes to the White Bear Lake Conservation District address, and then that gets forwarded automatically to my personal email. I read it, I respond.
if you do that from your personal email,
Yep.
then it will show as being from your personal email.
Got it.
I think, yeah.
And
I
so,
think that's the way
and
it
so the
works.
way to avoid that is to,
Sign on to that email account.
got it, the board's
Or
email.
ask our admin to respond on your behalf.
Good,
right?
understood. Okay?
But this is the way it actually works. Now, on our website, our official address is info@wblcd.org, but that gets transferred to the address we really use, which is that, MSN address?
Okay.
Right. So we already set up that way now.
Sure, for that info account.
So it would be just individually. So I guess I would, I move that we accept John Harrington's gracious offer and have Mary send John our names and our personal addresses, which are kept private, right? The only question that I have is, and we can ask John about this, some of us are using multiple personal emails. You know, like Gantz uses both work and home, and I think we might just need to have one.
Sure.
So I'd have to work with Mary on,
Yeah, and it may be that everybody has a preferred private email, even if they have multiple, so they
yeah.
could just give us that one.
That's just a technical question, what we send them. But to get back, I'm a little off track here. I move that we accept the proposal to do what John Harrington recommends for us.
Second.
Then we have a second. So motion and a second. Any discussion?
Why 13? What's the number? Seems like we have 12 members?
If you're 10, we had 10 members, right?
Yeah, so why 13? He's looking for 13.
I have no idea.
One's probably attorney, maybe.
Oh,
and-
maybe, yeah.
And another is admin, that gets
He
up to
might
12.
have actually looked at our website, which we don't always do.
Sure.
That would
Yep,
be
so-
12.
Could I just make a comment?
Sure.
It depends on your way of work, whether or not you want everything to be filtered through the office, or if you want people not to filter it through the office, but to be doing it with the responses themselves. So it's just, you need to consider the way you want to work.
Well, I think in the past, we've always filtered it through the office, and it's assuming that it gets redirected to the right people. That's been historically how we've done it. So Mary would get it, and if it was something that belonged to whoever's committee, that's where it would go, you know?
I suppose if there's a citizen out there that is interested in contacting one of the board members specifically, then having this information on the website allows them to do that. I think the one thing, assuming this moves forward, it seems like one thing that would be prudent is for people, if they respond to those emails, that come directly to them to respond through, or to a CC the administrator, so that we keep those files. But I guess they would always be on file through the
Yeah, I mean,
web
that could
server
just
as
be
well.
our procedure, you know.
Once you get email, about half of them are not necessary. You know, I mean, it's just, some people love to email.
And if we continue to run it through the office, wouldn't Brian then have some oversight of the emails as well? Do you not receive those from Mary, all the emails that come in?
I don't think that's necessarily the case, no. I don't know that for sure. You know, and Mary and I, we've just started working together really as well. But I think historically, no, if there were an email that was specific to a committee, you know, something like that, like milfoil, say, then that might go directly to Mike, and Mike might respond, as opposed to me.
If you respond using your own machine, they're going to have the ability to get back to you that way.
Sure, that's right. So I think that if this would move forward, then people would have to make that choice. They would receive emails, but they could always, you know, send a email on the side to Mary saying, Mary, please respond to this so that your personal email doesn't show up. And I think that would work just fine that way. Do you
Yeah.
think that, Scott?
There are multiple ways. The main thing is that it's not putting our personal emails on the website.
Right, it's giving people an opportunity to contact us that way as well. Okay, so we have a motion. I think Scott made a motion. Has anybody seconded that motion? Okay, we have a second. Thank you, Diane. So motion and second. We've had discussion. Any further discussion on this item?
I guess I would prefer it to still go through Mary and have her disseminate it to us personally and then go back to her. I kind of agree with George. When you start putting out another email, you start getting a whole lot of stuff that you don't want to have. And, you know, it takes time to go through all that. I mean, I think we're paying the administrator to figure out whatever email comes in, to whom it should go, and perhaps it goes to Brian first as the head of the committee, and then it's disseminated to the correct person.
And we did have in the past some members that were answering email who didn't have the authority, you recall, the authority to answer those emails, so we tried to circle them through the Mary, so we wouldn't have that problem.
And I think if Mary then, you know, sent it to Brian first before it's disseminated to the citizen, then they both would be looking at it and they would both give approval of it before it went out. That way you would be, you know, counteracting any possibility of saying the wrong thing or giving someone the wrong impression about something
Right.
relative to this committee.
Okay, so we have any more discussion on this?
You know? Yeah, I mean, it does work just fine for all other municipal bodies. You know, it's, if you look at White Bear Lake, you know, it'll have an email address for every council member. And they just have to know, you know, that they don't blast off on behalf of the whole city when it's just their opinion.
Agreed.
Sorry.
Nope, that's fine.
Okay. So is your motion so that we each, I mean, I agree that I think it should go through Mary too. Even if someone wants to contact one of us, Mary can, you know, get back to us on that. So I mean, I think I'd rather see it go through Mary or our administrator and then back to whoever it needs to go to.
So there would be no individual contacts on our website, unlike all other municipalities.
No,
Well, you-
they can contact me individually, but they just have to.
Yeah.
It goes through Mary, and she emails me and says, you know, this person wants to chat.
I don't think that's the way it works for any other municipality.
Well, and I think that there are those two distinct ways of working. I mean, one is we provide the information on the website and then gives people an opportunity to contact us directly. You know, the downside of that, I think, is that, you know, then I can send off an email late at night that I shouldn't, or maybe all the things don't go through the administrator, and I think there's value in having things go through the administrator. So that's one way, is to provide that information and then be responsible that way. A second is to not provide that information and just for the public to go through the administrator, and then the administrator disseminates down to the people that would be responsible for that particular item. So I think they are two distinct things. Now, the motion and the second that's on the table is that if we voted to approve that motion, then that means that we would all get these White Bear Lake Conservation District email addresses, and we would have to choose to do what we want with those. You know, whether we wanted to have Mary reply on our behalf, or if we wanted to reply. So that's the motion on the table. We've had discussion. Do we want to make a change to that motion, or do we want to go ahead and vote on that and see where that goes?
Did you have, Alan, did you want to add to this? It looked like you did for a moment.
Chair and board, I don't have the statute up in front of me, but if you're on a public body and you represent any number of the public, there has to be either an email directly to you or a phone number that people can contact you at. It is a choice, but Scott's right, that's why he did this work. You know, there should be some way to contact you directly, and I don't think it should be on Mary to disseminate to individuals, because that, of course, puts 1 degree of separation from you and your constituents, and it also puts a burden on Mary, and if she's sick and someone needs a response and she can't get to it, that's why the statute says that if you're going to be up here as a member of the public, I mean, you can certainly, the most elegant way is to all have, you know, White Bear Lake Conservation District emails, and yes, it's another server to tap into and whatnot, but it's not that big of a deal. You can at least read the emails without having to respond to them and give up if you're funneling them through your Gmail or through your other, you know, business server or whatever you've got, and hopefully the person actually gives you some way to get back to them. But it shouldn't be that much of a burden. A lot of people will actually just set up separate Gmail accounts that say Susie Mahoney, WBCLD at Yahoo or Gmail or something like that. Then every time you log in, you know, it would come out that way and you don't have to log into some special server. But I would recommend that you either give a cell phone or get the email offered through the district, or do one of the other options. So.
Okay, thank you, Alan. So any other discussion? Okay, so we have a motion and a second, no more discussion, so I'll call the vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
So 1 opposed.
Aye, aye, aye.
Oh, okay, 2, so 2 opposed, and so 5 in favor, so that motion passes. Okay, Scott?
Okay, next item is the website report. There's no action to take here. Website traffic is up substantially since last year, which is really good. People are coming to the website to get information. We do get a little nag at the bottom here. We should really be using Twitter. Which leads me to 8E3, or what do we call it? Okay, 83, which is the social media policy. This was introduced a couple months ago, and I have gotten no other comments or suggestions on how it's worded, so I would like to move that we accept the social media policy and procedures that's been handed out.
That was just handed out tonight?
What's that?
That was just handed out tonight?
Yeah, well, same thing that was handed out 2 months ago.
It was?
And it was at your places.
Pardon?
It was at your place.
Yeah, it's handed out tonight.
Okay, and did you make a motion?
Yeah, I
Sorry,
make a
Scott.
motion that we approve this.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the social media policy and procedures. Is there any discussion? Okay, no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Anything else from you, Scott?
That's it.
Any questions for Scott? Okay, thank you. Treasurer's report, 8F. Diane?
Chair. We have the treasurer's report for July 2017. Starting in January, U.S. Bank started charging any business account $5 a month for paper statements. And so over the last couple of months, there's been some fees of $5. I had a talk with them, and they've agreed to not charge the district that $5, and they also gave us a refund for the months that they charged us the $5, and this is true of both our savings and our checking account. So this report reflects that. So with that, I would like to make a motion to approve checks 4423 through 4426.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions for Diane? All right, so 8G, Board Council Report. Alan?
Chair and Board, as far as activity this month, I know a lot of times I've been out here, I've seen the Sheriff's Department, but we haven't seen a prosecution come through the court system yet, so people are either getting a lot of warnings or resolving things with the hearing officer, and I would stand for questions.
Okay, any questions for Alan? Okay, thank you, Alan. 9, the consent agenda.
So moved. I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, and I'll second it. So motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. So item 10, announcements. I don't have,
Mr. Chairman,
oh, yeah.
I just have a very brief announcement that we have a new videographer. Joe Cullen's no longer with us. And those of you who weren't here last meeting had an opportunity to meet our new videographer, Lisa Sonopol. And if you get a chance, say hi to her. She was here in June as well. And I just, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Mary. So no further announcements. So we're on to item 11, adjournment.
Take a move, we adjourn.
Second?
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned. Thank you.